Hello, my name is Victor. This video covers lessons 21 and 22 of the Master Key System. I have included a link in the description that you can use to download it for free if you're interested in reading it. This part explains how we may come into possession of power sufficient to meet every situation which may arise in life. It explains that the ability to eliminate imperfect conditions depends upon mental action. It explains that great ideas have a tendency to eliminate smaller ideas, so that it is well to hold ideas which are large enough to counteract and destroy all small or undesirable tendencies. This is one of the secrets of success, one of the accomplishments of the mastermind. It explains that the creative energy finds no more difficulty in handling a large situation than a small one. It explains how conditions are produced in our lives by the predominant thoughts which we entertain. It explains how you may set causes in motion which will create an irresistible magnetic power which will bring the things you require to you. It explains the issue between the old regime and the new. It explains the crux of the social problem. It explains the true secret of health, wealth and power. Introduction. In paragraph 7 of this part you will find that one of the secrets of success, one of the methods of organizing victory, one of the accomplishments of the mastermind is to think big thoughts. In paragraph 8 you will find that everything which we hold in our consciousness for any length of time becomes impressed upon our subconsciousness and so becomes a pattern which the creative energy will weave into our life and environment. This is the secret of the wonderful power of prayer. We know that the universe is governed by law, that for every effect there must be a cause, and that the same cause, under the same conditions, will invariably produce the same effect. Consequently, if prayer has ever been answered, it will always be answered, if the proper conditions are complied with. This must necessarily be true, otherwise the universe would be a chaos instead of a cosmos. The answer to prayer is therefore subject to law, and this law is definite, exact and scientific, just as are the laws governing gravitation and electricity. An understanding of this law takes the foundation of Christianity out of the realm of superstition and credulity and places it upon the firm rock of scientific understanding. But, unfortunately, there are comparatively few persons who know how to pray. They understand that there are laws governing electricity, mathematics and chemistry, but, for some inexplicable reason, it never seems to occur to them that there are also spiritual laws, and that these laws are also definite, scientific, exact, and operate with immutable precision. Part 21. The real secret of power is consciousness of power. The universal mind is unconditional, therefore, the more conscious we become of our unity with this mind, the less conscious we shall become of conditions and limitations, and as we become emancipated or freed from conditions we come into a realization of the unconditional. We have become free. As soon as we become conscious of the inexhaustible power in the world within, we begin to draw on this power and apply and develop the greater possibilities which this discernment has realized, because whatever we become conscious of, is invariably manifested in the objective world, is brought forth into tangible expression. This is because the infinite mind, which is the source from which all things proceed, is one and indivisible, and each individual is a channel whereby this eternal energy is being manifested. Our ability to think is our ability to act upon this universal substance, and what we think is what is created or produced in the objective world. The result of this discovery is nothing less than marvelous, and means that mind is extraordinary in quality, limitless in quantity and contains possibilities without number. To become conscious of this power is to become a live wire. It has the same effect as placing an ordinary wire in contact with a wire that is charged. The universal is the live wire. It carries power sufficient to meet every situation which may arise in the life of every individual. When the individual mind touches the universal mind, it receives all the power it requires. This is the world within. All science recognizes the reality of this world, and all power is contingent upon our recognition of this world. The ability to eliminate imperfect conditions depends upon mental action, and mental action depends upon consciousness of power. Therefore, the more conscious we become of our unity with the source of all power, the greater will be our power to control and master every condition. Large ideas have a tendency to eliminate all smaller ideas, so that it is well to hold ideas large enough to counteract and destroy all small or undesirable tendencies. This will remove innumerable petty and annoying obstacles from your path. You also become conscious of a larger world of thought, thereby increasing your mental capacity as well as placing yourself in position to accomplish something of value. This is one of the secrets of success, one of the methods of organizing victory, one of the accomplishments of the mastermind. He thinks big thoughts. The creative energies of mind find no more difficulty in handling large situations than small ones. Mind is just as much present in the infinitely large as in the infinitely small. When we realize these facts concerning mind, we understand how we may bring to ourselves any condition by creating the corresponding conditions in our consciousness, because everything which is held for any length of time in the consciousness eventually becomes impressed upon the subconscious and thus becomes a pattern which the creative energy will weave into the life and environment of the individual. In this way, conditions are produced, and we find that our lives are simply the reflection of our predominant thoughts, our mental attitude. We see then that the science of correct thinking is the one science, that it includes all other sciences. From this science we learn that every thought creates an impression in the brain, that these impressions create mental tendencies, and these tendencies create character, ability and purpose, and that the combined action of character, ability and purpose determines the experiences with which we shall meet in life. These experiences come to us through the law of attraction. Through the action of this law we meet in the world without the experiences which correspond to our world within. The predominant thought or the mental attitude is the magnet, and the law is that like attracts like. Consequently, the mental attitude will invariably attract such conditions as correspond to its nature. This mental attitude is our personality and is composed of the thoughts which we have been creating in our own mind. Therefore, if we wish a change in conditions, all that is necessary is to change our thought. This will in turn change our mental attitude, which will in turn change our personality, which will in turn change the persons, things and conditions, or the experiences with which we meet in life. It is, however, no easy matter to change the mental attitude, but by persistent effort it may be accomplished. The mental attitude is patterned after the mental pictures which have been photographed on the brain. If you do not like the pictures, destroy the negatives and create new pictures. This is the art of visualization. As soon as you have done this, you will begin to attract new things, and the new things will correspond to the new pictures. To do this, impress on the mind a perfect picture of the desire which you wish to have objectified and continue to hold the picture in mind until results are obtained. If the desire is one which requires determination, ability, talent, courage, power or any other spiritual power, these are necessary essentials for your picture. Build them in. They are the vital part of the picture. They are the feeling which combines with thought and creates the irresistible magnetic power which draws the things you require to you. They give your picture life, and life means growth, and as soon as it begins to grow, the result is practically assured. Do not hesitate to aspire to the highest possible attainments in anything you may undertake, for the mind forces are ever ready to lend themselves to a purposeful will in the effort to crystallize its highest aspirations into acts, accomplishments and events. An illustration of how these mind forces operate is suggested by the method in which all our habits are formed. We do a thing, then do it again, and again, and again, until it becomes easy and perhaps almost automatic, and the same rule applies in breaking any and all bad habits. We stop doing a thing, and then avoid it again, and again until we are entirely free from it. And if we do fail now and then, we should by no means lose hope, for the law is absolute and invincible and gives us credit for every effort and every success, even though our efforts and successes are perhaps intermittent. There is no limit to what this law can do for you. Dare to believe in your own ideal. Remember that nature is plastic to the ideal. Think of the ideal as an already accomplished fact. The real battle of life is one of ideas. It is being fought out by the few against the many. On the one side is the constructive and creative thought, on the other side the destructive and negative thought. The creative thought is dominated by an ideal, the passive thought is dominated by appearances. On both sides are men of science, men of letters and men of affairs. On the creative side are men who spend their time in laboratories, or over microscopes and telescopes, side by side with the men who dominate the commercial, political and scientific world. On the negative side are men who spend their time investigating law and precedent, men who mistake theology for religion, statesmen who mistake might for right, and all the millions who seem to prefer precedent to progress, who are eternally looking backward instead of forward, who see only the world without, but know nothing of the world within. In the last analysis there are but these two classes. All men will have to take their place on one side or the other. They will have to go forward, or go back. There is no standing still in a world where all is motion. It is this attempt to stand still that gives sanction and force to arbitrary and unequal codes of law. That we are in a period of transition is evidenced by the unrest which is everywhere apparent. The complaint of humanity is as a roll of heaven's artillery, commencing with low and threatening notes and increasing until the sound is sent from cloud to cloud, and the lightning rends the air and earth. The sentries who patrol the most advanced outposts of the industrial, political and religious world are calling anxiously to each other. What of the night? The danger and insecurity of the position they occupy and attempt to hold is becoming more apparent every hour. The dawn of a new era necessarily declares that the existing order of things cannot much longer be. The issue between the old regime and the new, the crux of the social problem, is entirely a question of conviction in the minds of the people as to the nature of the universe. When they realize that the transcendent force of spirit or mind of the cosmos is within each individual, it will be possible to frame laws that shall consider the liberties and rights of the many instead of the privileges of the few. As long as the people regard the cosmic power as a power non-human and alien to humanity, so long will it be comparatively easy for a supposed privileged class to rule by divine right in spite of every protest of social sentiment. The real interest of humanity is therefore to exalt, emancipate and recognize the divinity of the human spirit. To recognize that all power is from within. That no human being has any more power than any other human being, except such as may willingly be delegated to him. The old regime would have us believe that the law was superior to the lawmakers. Herein is the gist of the social crime of every form of privilege and personal inequality, the institutionalizing of the fatalistic doctrine of divine election. The divine mind is the universal mind. It does not act through sheer caprice or from anger, jealousy or wrath, neither can it be flattered, cajoled or moved by sympathy or petition to supply man with some need which he thinks necessary for his happiness or even his existence. The divine mind makes no exceptions in favor of any individual, but when the individual understands and realizes his unity with the universal principle, he will appear to be favored because he will have found the source of all health, all wealth and all power. For your next exercise, concentrate on the truth. Try to realize that the truth shall make you free, that is, nothing can permanently stand in the way of your perfect success when you learn to apply the scientifically correct thought methods and principles. Realize that you are eternalizing in your environment, your inherent soul potencies. Realize that the silence offers an ever-available and almost unlimited opportunity for awakening the highest conception of truth. Try to comprehend that omnipotence itself is absolute silence, all else is change, activity, limitation. Silent thought concentration is therefore the true method of reaching, awakening and then expressing the wonderful potential power of the world within. The possibilities of thought training are infinite, its consequence eternal, and yet few take the pains to direct their thinking into channels that will do them good, but instead leave all to chance. Martin. Part 21 Questions. What is the real secret of power? The consciousness of power, because whatever we become conscious of, is invariably manifested in the objective world, is brought forth into tangible expression. What is the source of this power? The universal mind, from which all things proceed, and which is one and indivisible. How is this power being manifested? Through the individual. Each individual is a channel whereby this energy is being differentiated in form. How may we connect with this omnipotence? Our ability to think is our ability to act on this universal energy, and what we think is what is produced or created in the objective world. What is the result of this discovery? The result is nothing less than marvelous. It opens unprecedented and limitless opportunity. How, then, may we eliminate imperfect conditions? By becoming conscious of our unity with the source of all power. What is one of the distinctive characteristics of the master mind? He thinks big thoughts. He holds ideas large enough to counteract and destroy all petty and annoying obstacles. How do experiences come to us? Through the law of attraction. How is this law brought into operation? By our predominant mental attitude. What is the issue between the old regime and the new? A question of conviction as to the nature of the universe. The old regime is trying to cling to the fatalistic doctrine of divine election. The new regime recognizes the divinity of the individual, the divinity of humanity. The power to think, consecutively and deeply and clearly, is an avowed and deadly enemy to mistakes and blunders, superstitions, unscientific theories, irrational beliefs, unbridled enthusiasm, fanaticism. Haddock. Hello, my name is Victor. This video covers lessons 21 and 22 of the Master Key System. I have included a link in the description that you can use to download it for free if you're interested in reading it. This part explains the cause of our present character, our present environment, our present ability, our present physical condition, and tells how we can make our future what we wish it to be. It explains how the vast panorama of nature is being constantly changed by simply changing the rate of vibration. It tells how the rate of vibration is being constantly changed in our bodies, usually unconsciously and often with detrimental and disastrous results. It tells how we may affect this change consciously and thus bring about only harmonious and salutary conditions. It explains that the law of health is based on the law of vibration, and that with a proper knowledge of the law we may externalize health conditions. It explains the operation of this law and how it is being more generally understood and appreciated, and how many physicians are now giving the matter their earnest attention. Introduction. In part 22 you will find that thoughts are spiritual seeds, which, when planted in the subconscious mind, have a tendency to sprout and grow, but unfortunately the fruit is frequently not to our liking. The various forms of inflammation, paralysis, nervousness and diseased conditions generally, are the manifestation of fear, worry, care, anxiety, jealousy, hatred and similar thought. The life processes are carried on by two distinct methods. Firstly, the taking up and making use of nutritive material necessary for constructing cells. Secondly, the secretion and excretion of the waste material. All life is based upon these constructive and destructive activities, and as food, water and air are the only requisites necessary for the construction of cells, it would seem that the problem of prolonging life indefinitely would not be a very difficult one. However strange it may seem, it is the second or destructive activity that is, with rare exception, the cause of all disease. The waste material accumulates and saturates the tissues, which causes autointoxication. This may be partial or general. In the first case the disturbance will be local, in the second place it will affect the whole system. The problem, then, before us in the healing of disease is to increase the inflow and distribution of vital energy throughout the system, and this can only be done by eliminating thoughts of fear, worry, care, anxiety, jealousy, hatred, and every other destructive thought, which tend to tear down and destroy the nerves and glands which control the excretion and elimination of poisonous and waste matter. Nourishing foods and strengthening tonics cannot bestow life, because these are but secondary manifestations of life. The primary manifestation of life and how you may get in touch with it is explained in Part 22. Part 22. Knowledge is of priceless value, because by applying knowledge we can make our future what we wish it to be. When we realize that our present character, our present environment, our present ability, our present physical condition are all the result of past methods of thinking, we shall begin to have some conception of the value of knowledge. If the state of our health is not all that could be desired, let us examine our method of thinking. Let us remember that every thought produces an impression on the mind. Every impression is a seed which will sink into the subconscious and form a tendency. The tendency will be to attract other similar thoughts, and before we know it we shall have a crop which must be harvested. If these thoughts contain disease germs, the harvest will be sickness, decay, weakness and failure. The question is, what are we thinking? What are we creating? What is the harvest to be? If there is any physical condition which it is necessary to change, the law governing visualization will be found effective. Make a mental image of physical perfection, hold it in the mind until it is absorbed by the consciousness. Many have eliminated chronic ailments in a few weeks by this method, and thousands have overcome and destroyed all manner of ordinary physical disturbances by this method in a few days, sometimes in a few minutes. It is through the law of vibration that the mind exercises this control over the body. We know that every mental action is a vibration, and we know that all form is simply a mode of motion, a rate of vibration. Therefore, any given vibration immediately modifies every atom in the body, every life cell is affected and an entire chemical change is made in every group of life cells. Everything in the universe is what it is by virtue of its rate of vibration. Change the rate of vibration and you change the nature, quality and form. The vast panorama of nature, both visible and invisible, is being constantly changed by simply changing the rate of vibration, and as thought is a vibration we can also exercise this power. We can change the vibration and thus produce any condition which we desire to manifest in our bodies. We are all using this power every minute. The trouble is most of us are using it unconsciously and thus producing undesirable results. The problem is to use it intelligently and produce only desirable results. This should not be difficult, because we all have had sufficient experience to know what produces pleasant vibration in the body, and we also know the causes which produce the unpleasant and disagreeable sensations. All that is necessary is to consult our own experience. When our thought has been uplifted, progressive, constructive, courageous, noble, kind or in any other way desirable, we have set in motion vibrations which brought about certain results. When our thought has been filled with envy, hatred, jealousy, criticism or any of the other 1001 forms of discord, certain vibrations were set in motion which brought about certain other results of a different nature, and each of these rates of vibration, if kept up, crystallized in form. In the first case the result was mental, moral and physical health, and in the second case discord, inharmony and disease. We can understand, then, something of the power which the mind possesses over the body. The objective mind has certain effects on the body which are readily recognized. Someone says something to you which strikes you as ludicrous and you laugh, possibly until your whole body shakes, which shows that thought has control over the muscles of your body, or someone says something which excites your sympathy and your eyes fill with tears, which shows that thought controls the glands of the body, or someone says something which makes you angry and the blood mounts to your cheek, which shows that thought controls the circulation of your blood. But as these experiences are all the results of the action of your objective mind over the body, The results are of a temporary nature, they soon pass away and leave the situation as it was before. Let us see how the action of the subconscious mind over the body differs. You receive a wound, thousands of cells begin the work of healing at once, in a few days or a few weeks the work is complete. You may even break a bone. No surgeon on earth can weld the parts together. He may set the bone for you, and the subjective mind will immediately begin the process of welding the parts together, and in a short time the bone is as solid as it ever was. You may swallow poison, the subjective mind will immediately discover the danger and make violent efforts to eliminate it. You may become infected with a dangerous germ, the subjective will at once commence to build a wall around the infected area and destroy the infection by absorbing it in the white blood corpuscles which it supplies for the purpose. These processes of the subconscious mind usually proceed without our personal knowledge or direction, and so long as we do not interfere the result is perfect, but, as these millions of repair cells are all intelligent and respond to our thought, they are often paralyzed and rendered impotent by our thoughts of fear, doubt and anxiety. They are like an army of workmen, ready to start an important piece of work, but every time they get fairly started on the undertaking a strike is called or plans changed, until they finally get discouraged and give up. The way to health is founded on the law of vibration, which is the basis of all science, and this law is brought into operation by the mind, the world within. It is a matter of individual effort and practice. Our world of power is within. If we are wise, we shall not waste time and effort in trying to deal with effects as we find them in the world without, which is only an external, a reflection. We shall always find the cause in the world within. By changing the cause, we change the effect. Every cell in your body is intelligent and will respond to your direction. The cells are all creators and will create the exact pattern which you give them. Therefore, when perfect images are placed before the subjective, the creative energies will build a perfect body. Brain cells are constructed in the same way. The quality of the brain is governed by the state of mind, or mental attitude, so that if undesirable mental attitudes are conveyed to the subjective they will in turn be transferred to the body. We can therefore readily see that if we wish the body to manifest health, strength and vitality, this must be the predominant thought. We know then that every element of the human body is the result of a rate of vibration. We know that mental action is a rate of vibration. We know that a higher rate of vibration governs, modifies, controls, changes or destroys a lower rate of vibration. We know that the rate of vibration is governed by the character of brain cells, and finally, we know how to create these brain cells. Therefore, we know how to make any physical change in the body we desire, and having secured a working knowledge of the power of mind to this extent, we have come to know that there is practically no limitation which can be placed upon our ability to place ourselves in harmony with natural law, which is omnipotent. This influence or control over the body by the mind is coming to be more and more generally understood, and many physicians are now giving the matter their earnest attention. Dr. Albert T. Schofield, who has written several important books on the subject, says, "The subject of mental therapeutics is still ignored in medical works generally. In our physiologies no reference is made to the central controlling power that rules the body for its good, and the power of the mind over the body is seldom spoken of. No doubt many physicians treat nervous diseases of functional origin wisely and well, but what we contend is that the knowledge they display was taught at no school, was learned from no book, but is intuitive and empirical. This is not as it should be. The power of mental therapeutics should see the subject of careful, special and scientific teaching in every medical school. We might pursue the subject of maltreatment, or one of treatment, further in detail and describe the disastrous results of neglected cases, but the task is an invidious one. There can be no doubt that few patients are aware how much they can do for themselves. What the patient can do for himself, the forces he can set in motion, are as yet unknown. We are inclined to believe that they are far greater than most imagine, and will undoubtedly be used more and more. Mental therapeutics may be directed by the patient himself to calming the mind and excitement, by arousing feelings of joy, hope, faith and love, by suggesting motives for exertion, by regular mental work, by diverting the thoughts from the malady. For your next exercise, concentrate on Tennyson's beautiful line, "Speak to him, thou, for he hears, and spirit with spirit can meet, closer is he than breathing, and nearer than hands and feet." Then try to realize that when you do speak to him, you are in touch with omnipotence. This realization and recognition of this omnipresent power will quickly destroy any and every form of sickness or suffering and substitute harmony and perfection. Then remember, there are those who seem to think that sickness and suffering are sent by God. If so, every physician, every surgeon and every Red Cross nurse is defying the will of God, and hospitals and sanatoriums are places of rebellion instead of houses of mercy. Of course, this quickly reasons itself into an absurdity, but there are many who still cherish the idea. Then let the thought rest on the fact that until recently theology has been trying to teach an impossible creator, one who created beings capable of sinning and then allowed them to be eternally punished for such sins. Of course, the necessary outcome of such extraordinary ignorance was to create fear instead of love, and so, after 2,000 years of this kind of propaganda, theology is now busily engaged in apologizing for Christendom. You will then the more readily appreciate the ideal man, the man made in the image and likeness of God, and you will the more readily appreciate the all-originating mind that forms, upholds, sustains, originates and creates all there is. All are but parts of one stupendous whole, whose body nature is, and God the soul. Hope. Opportunity follows perception, action follows inspiration, growth follows knowledge, eminence follows progress. Always the spiritual first, then the transformation into the infinite and illimitable possibilities of achievement. Part 22 questions. How may sickness be eliminated? By placing ourselves in harmony with natural law which is omnipotent. What is the process? A realization that man is a spiritual being and that this spirit must necessarily be perfect. What is the result? A conscious recognition of this perfection, first intellectually, then emotionally, brings about a manifestation of this perfection. Why is this so? Because thought is spiritual and therefore creative and correlates with its object and brings it into manifestation. What natural law is brought into operation? The law of vibration. Why does this govern? Because a higher rate of vibration governs, modifies, controls, changes or destroys a lower rate of vibration. Is this system of mental therapeutics generally recognized? Yes, there are several million people in the world who make use of it in one form or another. What is the result of this system of thought? For the first time in the world's history, every man's highest reasoning faculty can be satisfied by a demonstrable truth which is now fast flooding the world. Is this system applicable to other forms of supply? It will meet every human requirement or necessity. Is this system scientific or religious? Both. True science and true religion are twin sisters, where one goes the other necessarily follows. Silent thought is, after all, the mightiest agent in human affairs. Chanting.